Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope we're doing well and staying safe. Happy New Year's Eve. I am excited for all of us to put the past behind us and only move forward in the future like everyone else. So with that, though, I do want to say I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and we got a lot coming your way. We have the largest best of one tier list that we have procured today, 70 plus decks. You guys can check out the best of 3 one. And additionally, I got some key observations, again, different from the best of 3 for you that you guys can watch. And we got 4 decks, not 3, but 4 decks that I will spotlight here for best of 1 because I think they could make an impact, or at a minimum, you'll have some fun playing them. So with that, Planeswalkers, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. And additionally, if you enjoy the video, please like it. Or if you learn something, please like it. Other ways to support the channel down below, as well as stay connected. All right, so with that said, Planeswalkers, let's go ahead and hop right to it here and check out today's list. This one's going to get old pretty fast because now I don't think I can really do this as much, but I will move the tier list over here for you today. We got a lot going on. We really do. So hang tight. But while you do that, the list is available for you down below in the description, so you do have access to it right away. All the links are down there as well. The key takeaway is go to the website. It's got a lot more information for you about each of the decks. I got the videos linked. I just can't put all the information in the description. I'm sorry. I apologize. YouTube says too much. So with that said, here is the list. I am going to scroll in here for you right now because my old man eyes are not working so well these days. So if you guys can read that, I can, hopefully now. So let's go ahead and talk about the list. I do it in a 1, 2, 3 fashion. We do have 70 plus decks. It is crazy. Also good because it shows the health of the standard. A couple things when I do this particular to best of 1, it is really win rate driven, very statistic driven. I primarily base it off of Untapped. I get a lot of questions about this, so I'm going to say this. I base off Untapped. I have a paid subscription for that. You guys can check it out down below. I have it in my profile. I share that with you guys. Additionally, I have the companion app down there if you guys want to use it and track your stats and contribute to all this as well. So that is how I do it. Now, not every deck is in there. About half to half plus, I'll say, is tracked. A lot of these that we use were also platinum to mythic wins. So a lot of that also comes in from style of play, my experience, playing competitively, and those things that I put in there. But generally speaking, again, I would say at least the top half, top quarter, are very reflective of the win rate relative to the broader aspect. So keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and walk through this. I think you'll be very interested in the observations today. There are some key things that I do want to talk about. But before we get there, we got to go through the tier list. So 70 decks, so bear with me. So first for tier 1, we got 6 decks. We got mono white Lifegain, we got white aggro, we got mono red aggro, we got mono white auras, Boros Knights, Boros-Yore Cycling. Maybe you're going to see a trend appear before I get to observations. Next, we'll go into tier 2. We got 34 decks here. We got a Naya Winota. We got a Boros Winota Warriors, Selesnya 4-power aggro, Mardu Yorion Doom, Dimir Rogues, Mono Black Enchantments, Esper Yorion Doom, Esper Doom, Dimir Control, Dimir Yorion Control, Orzhov Yorion Doom, Azorius Yorion Blink, Mono Green. That's the Stompy deck. Gruul Adventures, or Gruul Aggro, Rakdos Midrange, Rakdos Escape, Mono Black Control, Mono Green Food, Sultai Yorion Fae, Selesnya Counters, Orzhov Auras, Mono Red Control, Dimir Flash, Izzet Draw 2, Temur Obosh Adventures, Temur Yorion, Jeskai Yorion Control, Selesnya Adventures, Orzhov Clerics, Golgari Adventures, Jund Sacrifice, Temur Ramp, Izzet Tempo, Selesnya Yorion to round out tier 2. Then in tier 3, we have Mono Black Devotion, Abzan Midrange, Azor's Party, Abzan Doom, Sultai Midrange, Boros Control, Orzhov Loris Aggro, Orzhov Aggro, Orzhov Party, Boros Warriors, Gruul Mutate, Rakdos Aggro, Grixis Control, 5-colored Shrine, Naya Kahira Control, Izzet Control, Sultai Karuga Titan's Nest, Sultai Emergent, Selesnya Enchantments, Abzan Mutate, Simic Mutate. Then we also have Bant Control, Selesnya Landfall, Naya Ramp, Mono Blue Devotion, Azorus Midrange, Sultai Gyruda Midrange, Dimir Mill, Jeskai Mill, Mono Blue Control, Simic Kicker, and Jeskai Spells. So that is the list, my friends. It is definitely different than Best of 3. You guys can go check that out. This one is very win rate driven. So keep that in mind. Again, I already talked about where I pull most of those statistics from. Relative to that, using the best information that I have to put a lot of these decks within their given space. And again, super awesome decks. Best of 1's a totally different beast than Best of 3. So happy we're able to do this as well today, because it's important. And yeah, again, talking about the natural progression like I did in the standard, it is also, well, maybe that was historic. Natural progression, when you first play Arena, you're probably playing Best of 1, Best of 3, then it happens or becomes, or whatever you want to call it in terms of that progression, and then you're probably going to pop into Historic. So we all probably play Brawl as well. I enjoy that a lot, so hope you guys do too. But with that said, that is the tier list. If you do got questions or comments, please let me know down below. I'm happy, very happy to answer to the best of my ability that I can in time pending. And additionally, if you do want to go a step further, you guys should hop on the Discord channel, hang out with everyone. We got a good group there and good crew. Lots of great conversation going on too. So with that said, again, this is the list. Happy to talk about it some more. So please shoot me a note if you got questions or comments. The other thing that I do want to say that we'll talk about here when we get to the 4 decks I do want to cover, I do want to thank all the people that contribute and share their decks. So if you do got one special that you enjoy playing that people haven't seen, those kinds of things, shoot it my way. You guys know I love covering top decks, and particularly if you've hit Mythic with it or played it significantly, let me know. I'd be happy to cover it. I will say I'm set for January. I got 30 plus decks to cover, but they need to be top decks. So that's what I want to do, and I don't want to have to dip into that pool, but we'll see what happens. So shoot me what you got, and we'll go from there. So again, tier list. Let's go ahead and use that now as our segue into our observations, because we do got a lot of things to cover here, my friends. So I'm going to get rid of this very bright screen. I don't think you guys like to see my pale as ghost, as I like to call it. So we'll go over here, and several things that I do want to mention or talk about because it's important. So when we saw that list, and we'll go back and take a look at it here in a second, but we did have a top end shift. There was a change in the tier 1. The tier 1 traditionally, particularly last month, was dominated by Dimir Rogues, Gruul, and some, I'll say some Esper or Yorion decks. That has definitely changed. We saw the rise of mono whites, both in Lifegain and in aggro. Additionally, some of the more linear decks like aggro and cycling have actually performed better in December here. So something that's pretty interesting. Now, in all honesty and truth, I don't know if that's just because of all of us just don't want to play those decks, or if we're just worse players playing it. But the reality is that is something statistically driven, at least that I've seen, and has definitely made an impact. Now, additionally, in terms of thinking about mono whites, I'll just say the baby has grown into an adult. It skipped from the toddler to the teenager to mature very fast. The mono white Lifegain deck has certainly proven to be a very top top heavy, top winner out of this whole best of one realm. And hats off to Crokies for that, because I know that towards the end of last season, I called this out, wasn't ready to put it there, but the statistics definitely have proven that it's there. So pretty awesome. So keep an eye on that one. Additionally, I think many of you maybe have seen the Chaldeum spoilers, maybe not, the leak, whatever, it's coming out anyway, but keep an eye out on that 3-drop Angel. I like to speculate. I think that is going to potentially be a nail in the coffin. So just keep a lookout for that. At least it's going to have a lot of things that are going to happen, I think. And there's some other good hidden gems and Zendikars rising that I haven't talked about yet. So maybe we'll get there here in January. Now, another emerging theme that's definitely on solid ground is that continuation of monocolored decks or 2-colored decks. So that's something that we want to keep an eye on. That certainly the differentiating factor isn't the Doom decks now. It's not the Yorion decks, 3-color stuff. It's actually Winota. So Winota is back in the fold at a very competitive rate and pace, particularly Naya, if you guys caught that. And obviously we'll go back and look at the list again here before we close out. But something to call out of importance, definitely. I personally have struggled playing the Naya color coding. I know there's plenty of great players out there that have done a good job with it. Modal lands have definitely helped. So keep an eye on that. It could change over next season, so keep an eye as you may find it may progress or regress depending on what happens with that over time. So it's a couple of things to keep in mind. Again, the monocolored schema, very important. I think it just makes it easier. Additionally, in the best of one hand smoothing algorithm, you can run a thinner land deck and have a lot more options, which is very helpful in the best of one realm. Now, something else, as we talk about this with the rise of mono white Lifegain, is purity is rare. So I jokingly, plains mono white, you guys get it, but has become a thing. So we got mono white Lifegain, we got mono white aggro, and additionally, it is certainly in stone at the moment in terms of some of the win rates I've seen, but it's not only the top deck, it's the top 2 decks back to back in tier 1, and this may have been, and I could be wrong because I'll say that I've done this for the most part. I've moved into kind of doing the tier deck stuff mid-year here as a content creator. I could be wrong earlier on, but I do pay attention to the meta. I don't think mono white has been as strong, or mono white Lifegain has been as strong given the current state. So that is something to keep in mind. And I just don't recall. So I'm happy for you guys to call me out. I'd love to hear it in case I was wrong, because I'm big about the trend pieces, I'm big about observations, but this is definitely something noteworthy. Now, additionally here, like mono white Lifegain, Crokies has a big following, a big imprint, all that stuff. I don't think I do. I got 1,500 subs. Well, 1,400. Be great to hit 1,500 by the end of the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do like to challenge the status quo. Last season we saw this with mono white. There was a deck that I got some pushback on that I was happy to cover. That's actually right there, you guys, from an individual player who reached out to me, and I actually agreed and played the deck and had a lot of fun with it, particularly in best of one. I would most certainly keep an eye on Selesnya 4 power. There's not enough statistics on it yet, but if more of you guys adopt it, play it, those kinds of things, a lot of the boards that I've found, that I've read, that people that tried it out had very healthy win rates. I know, obviously, Mitch Wise, who created this deck, shared it with me, has a very healthy win rate with the deck. But we need to see it more in aggregate. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just calling it out as something that could be a meta shift. I know many of you push back on that, but there's always a trend difference. There's being in front of the curve and at the back end of the curve, and that part of that's the anticipation of the statistics and then the realization of the statistics. So just calling that out because I think it matters. It could make a strong competitive deck. I think it already is one, and the devil will obviously lie in the details. So we'll keep an eye on it over the next month. I think there could be an opportunity there, but again, word of mouth makes a big difference, particularly in the age of the internet and transparency here, like doing this stuff. It does matter, it makes an impact. I don't have the following that Crokies has by any chance. I'm not trying to influence it. I'm just telling you based off my experience as a competitive player that I think that could make a change. Finally, couple parting thoughts here as we move into obviously the new year, because that's a big thing. This has certainly, just this one in December, has certainly been a challenge for me, particularly in best of one. Best of three is definitely different. To pull together this list. I'm very excited, like I said, to have been able to do it. And I look forward to January's list because I'm going to target 100 decks. Absolutely, that's my goal. I want to do it. I think this is one of the longest periods that we play between Zendikar Rising and Chaldeum. Traditionally, that's also the thing. Many of you that have been longtime Magic players, so keep that in mind. The focus for me again is the meta within the meta. I've gotten some pushback on my tier list of like, why is it so big and all those things. You know what? Great. I can pull 5 decks. I can pull the top decks and say, here you go. Good luck. But I think as a long-standing competitive player, also for those of you that are new, you want to have range. You want to know what's out there. You need to know what's out there because it matters. It matters within your tiers as a competitive player. Something that works at Mythic may actually not work well in Gold, to be honest. Just saying, it happens over time. Maybe it's going to get flushed out, and that's kind of how we end up where we are at, but may not work in the moment. So with that said, there is a meta within the meta, always, which is the game within the game, but you have to have the observation, the scope of the entire game. And so that is one of the reasons why I do these lists that are so large. That is why I do a tier list. Could I break it into 5? That might be some personal feedback there that I'm giving myself right now that we may do in the future. But the reality is I enjoy doing these long lists for you. The decks that are going to perform at the top tiers are still going to be ranked best. You guys can obviously pay attention to that. So with that, the focus in the meta is, again, just because I love the broader point of view, and you absolutely need to be aware of the game outside of the game as well. So not only the game within the game outside the game. So you heard it here. That's what's going to happen. That's what we're going to do. Last but not least, Planeswalkers. Again, as always, truly happy holidays, you guys. Again, I've said this a few times this week, but if there's any takeaway going into next year, enjoy it. Fleeting moments, despite whatever circumstances, there's always a silver lining. And I do want to wish each of you truly a safe and happy holiday and New Year's and New Year as we approach 2021. I look forward, as I've said, to continuing this conversation, continuing this relationship, continuing this content creation for you into next year. And as always, appreciate your feedback. So again, no one said anything about the mic. I did change some things up. Happy to hear it either way. So with that said, Planeswalkers, those are all the observations that I have that are unique in terms of best of one. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you do got questions, comments, let me know down below. Happy to cover that. Additionally, please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please like if you learned something, and additionally, please subscribe to the channel down over there, and don't forget to flip the notifications on. And then other ways to support the channel down below. So with that said, We do have 4 key decks that I want to cover here. I'll flash the list here again. We'll run through that at the end one last time. But a couple of quick call outs here in my lovely, just bear with me, let me grab my notebook, because I did do this in the last video. Some feedback. I'm making sure that the 4 decks that I cover, I want to make sure I give credit, all credits in the original video, so you guys can check that out down below. But 4 power aggro. Shout out to Mitch Wise, and what you guys will see here is a trend that I'll talk about here in a second. Sultai Yorion Fae we're going to cover by Miko GK, so congrats Miko on top 200 there with that one. 4 power aggro, Mitch Wise was like top 20. Mono Black Devotion, this was actually a Platinum to Mythic. Huge shout out actually, and I apologize, I'm blanking on your name. Very, very bad of me. I should have wrote it down my notebook. But one of you on Reddit reached out and said that was my Azorus partied list. Congratulations. Please, you guys never hesitate, because I love doing this stuff. I love covering your stuff. So I will send this video to you, and you will get it, and then you can make fun of me. So with that said, we're going to talk about the last list. The last one I have is Orzhov Luris Aggro by ManBearPig. So that is the 4 decks that I'm going to cover, and I do want to cover these because they're all pivotal in terms of our December. Additionally, they all have an impact and have something unique and different that they brought to the table that I think is pretty important for us to cover. And collectively, if you guys caught on, it was all about, mostly -1 user submitted decks. So again, I truly appreciate that communication, you guys. I have a lot of fun with it, and definitely love seeing the competitive nature and what you guys are submitting and having the one-on-one conversation. I truly appreciate it. So it means something to me when you guys reach out, and I love covering your stuff. So with that, we're gonna dive into each of these decks. You guys can obviously go ahead and check them all out down below, and check out, you know, the 45-minute to hour and 15-minute videos on these. But particularly, we're going to start with Mitch Wise's deck. In terms of 4 power here, now I know several of you have actually reached out to me. Grab the wrong one. Have reached out to me. I'm gonna say it 3 times on this deck in particular. I think it's a great deck. I think it's a cheap entry deck. You know, I'd almost call it budget to some extent now, and part of that is just due to what's in it and what time that's elapsed that you've probably, you know, acquired most of the cards. But this thing runs, I think, you know, Mitch Wise can hold me honest, I think they're like 70+% on this, like 60% plus in totality. A very, very strong deck. One of the reasons why I rated it extremely high in tier 2, couldn't quite give it the tier 1. And mainly that was just mass adoption, mass percentage win rate. Mitch Wise might be one of the best players in the world. We just don't know, and they're just a hidden gem. But that's how it goes. So here's what we got going on here. Main board, the whole strategy revolves around 4 powered creatures. Very creative. It's a particular best of 1 deck. We did pull together a sideboard deck, and I will show that quickly there for those of you that like to play best of 3. But it's very, very well refined, very, very well on par. You know, my only feedback, some of that could have been the change in the lands, some of the advantage in the modal lands that you can get for some of the longer term decks, maybe some draw, those kinds of things. But the reality is it's a very linear, very on target deck that you guys can keep in mind. So that is the top 25 Selesnya 4 power aggro deck for you guys. We will now move into the top 200 Sultai Yorion Fae deck. This one was also a tier 2 deck. This one was also by Miko GK, so congratulations Miko on the top 200 here throughout the season. Funny short story, I actually played Miko, and they were sitting around top 1300 when I played them. They played this deck and I lost. So You guys can check out one of the videos. I think I recorded it. I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. I actually don't think I did. I think I missed that one. But Miko's a great player. Had a lot of fun. I knew the deck was coming. My deck was just not paired well against it at the time when I played, and I love doing these kinds of things, you guys, if you can't tell. So, again, Sultai, Yorion, Fae, best of one deck. We took it in best of three. But the premise really here is about leveraging Fae within a Sultai mechanic that really focuses on removal and very covered at the top end. Works great in best of one. One of my favorite cards, Shadow's Verdict here. You guys got to call that out. And then obviously with Fae, the option to pull in so many things here and really do well in terms of a best of one matchup. You have access to your removal at the top end. You get access to your game closers. Very cool deck. And still works well against rogues in terms of some of the graveyard play and those things. So again, hats off, Miko. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Let's move into our next deck. Next, we got the top 1K Orzhov Red Aggro deck. So thank you, Manbear Pig. This was your deck. I really truly enjoyed this. I know we worked on kind of the sideboard a little bit here, but the reality is very on target deck. Utilizes the Lifegain components, utilizes graveyard play, utilizes some of the key removal, and top ends at 3. So it's very aggressive, well thought through. Again, some of the things with the modal lands that I've talked about before, you could absolutely do that, particularly in the Lifegain format. But I always tell you guys, own the decks like you want to play them. And I just offer my 2 cents. So you get advice is free. You can either take it or leave it. So this is the deck. This is what we got going on. We got a lot of recursion. We got a lot of cool things happening here. Luminarch is just so powerful. Call it Death Dweller, so powerful. And that's what we got going on. So again, sideboard for those of you that like to play best of 3, but I think this is definitely one you guys should check out. Super cool. And then last but not least, I do want to cover a fun deck that I really enjoyed, and I did play this actually as my first deck in December. A mono black devotion deck there. Had a blast with this one, and who doesn't love Gary? I mean, come on, super fun. And Gary's been around a while. So what it's all about obviously is some removal, heavy on removal, graveyard hates, recursion, stacking everything that you can with devotion, and then additionally popping off a bunch of triggers and managing the board. I don't know what there isn't to love about this deck, to be honest. It plays well in the mid-range, early game, mid-range, and late game. It's got options for everyone. Super fun. Again, another like tier 3, tier 2 type deck here, and I'd have to actually just go look at my list to make sure. I think it's top of tier 2, tier 3. Yep. So more so a function of all the decks and those things, but I really enjoyed playing this one. Had a lot of fun with it, lots of cool options, so I did want to spotlight it for you. So Planeswalkers, that concludes the end of our deck list and kind of the high level deep dives, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, again, tier list down below, decks down below. You guys can go check all that stuff out. If you got questions or comments, let me know. Happy to help. Check out the Discord, all those things. So quickly, as always, and last, huge thank you, you guys. Truly thankful. Awesome year. My goal was to hit 1,000 subs. I did this because I enjoyed doing it. So we did make that. I truly am thankful. I appreciate it. I love setting goals. We'll set some goals early next year to have fun and some other things, obviously. But I really am thankful. We've done a lot this year. We've accomplished a lot. The community's been great. It's been growing. Plenty of new players. You guys, welcome. Really, really welcome. I enjoy playing, and it is different in paper. It is different in paper. Looking forward to getting back to that too. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So try not to tear up. Thank you guys. Truly appreciate it. Great 2020, despite all the challenges we faced, despite all the hiccups and magic. It happens. The game's been around for a long time, my friends. And I come from that background, so I can relate. Stuff's never perfect. So again, thank you. Really, really, truly appreciate it. Please feel free to like the video if you liked it, if you learned something, or if you're just empathetic to me. Additionally, appreciate the subs, you guys. Really, really do. Please stay tuned for more content in the future. Looking forward to it in 2021. Flip on those notifications, all those things. Love hearing from you guys. Comment, all that stuff. Great ways to connect down below. Great ways to support the channel down below. I'll use my normal spiel here. You can like me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch, and I do plan on getting into more streaming next year. Additionally, shout out to my patrons. Shout out to the YouTube members. You guys, you can do that as well. Appreciate that support. So with that said, everyone, thank you for taking the time again to watch this and your support. We covered a lot today. We covered the tier list, 70 plus decks. My gosh, in best of one. We talked about the win rates. We talked about how we do it. We covered observations, very important. We covered those. Different than best of three. We got cool, unique things in best of one. We got a lot of change ups. You guys checked it out. You heard it. And then additionally, we covered 4 key decks that I think are very important. And additionally, players that came out of the woodwork shared what they have, not typically covered, but things that I think could make an impact. And additionally, if not, are going to be fun for you to play. So you guys should check it out. So great ways to support the community. With that said, Planeswalkers, one final note. Again, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's Eve. Take care. Stay safe. Until next time, we'll see you guys again soon. Mythras out 2021. We'll see you guys. Lots of stuff coming your way. Stay tuned.